My ex-wife threatened to ruin my life if I left. Here's how I escaped. I never thought I'd be the guy Googling how to safely leave my own wife. But here I am. It's 2:37 in the morning. My hands are shaking as I type this. And the only light in the room is my phone screen, glowing like an interrogation lamp. Because tonight, she threatened to ruin me if I ever dared to walk away. And I believe her. God help me, I believe her. The night started normal. As normal as things ever get in this house. We were sitting at the kitchen table, plates of untouched pasta between us. She stared at me. I stared at the clock. Tick, tick, tick. I remember the silence felt heavy. Like a storm cloud that wouldn't break. Then she said it, soft like she was discussing the weather. If you leave me, I will make sure everyone knows you hit me. I will call the police and tell them you hurt me. I'll ruin you. That was the moment everything snapped into place. The late-night calls I'd caught her making. The random bruises she showed her friends. The sly smirk when I questioned her. She'd been planning this. Maybe for months. Maybe since the day she realized I wasn't as easy to control as she thought. My mind went blank. My mouth opened but nothing came out. She just smiled wider. Like she'd won a prize. That's when I knew, if I didn't get out soon, I'd never get out at all. The first thing I did was call my brother Mark. I whispered into the phone like I was smuggling state secrets. She's planning something. She says she'll tell everyone I hit her. There was a pause on his end. Then he said, you have to get proof. No. Before she does. So that's what I spent the next week doing. Living in a house with a woman who was plotting to destroy me, pretending everything was fine. Smiling at breakfast. Kissing her cheek. I felt like I was losing my mind. Every night, after she fell asleep, I scoured our shared laptop. Emails, texts, bank statements. I found what I needed on the third night. A message to her friend saying she'd finally figured out how to keep me from leaving. That if I tried, she'd go to the cops. And if that didn't work, she'd leak evidence to my job. I saved the screenshot to a cloud drive I set up just for this. Then I started recording our conversations on my phone. I'd leave it running during dinner, during arguments, even during our quiet nights watching Netflix. Anything that could prove what she was doing. And she kept giving me material. One night, she threw a wine glass at the wall because I forgot to buy the right cereal. She screamed that I was worthless, that I was ungrateful. Then she said it again, I'll ruin your life. Don't you get it? I control what happens to you. The tension became a living thing in our house. Even our dog started hiding under the bed whenever she walked in the room. I'd catch him staring at me with these sad, confused eyes. Like he was asking why I couldn't fix it. Why I couldn't make her stop. One morning she found me packing a small bag. I told her it was just for the gym, but she wasn't stupid. Her eyes went dark like a storm rolling in. She asked if I was planning to leave her. I said no. My voice cracked. And that's when she lunged. She grabbed the strap of my bag and yanked it away from me. Clothes scattered across the floor. She started crying, but it was the kind of crying that felt rehearsed. Like she was already imagining the sympathy she'd get when she told everyone how her evil husband abandoned her. Then she said something that still echoes in my head. Even if you leave, you'll never be free of me. I'll make sure of it. That night, I slept in my car. I couldn't stand the thought of being in the same bed. The air in the house felt poisoned. I parked 2 streets over so she wouldn't find me. I lay awake, listening to the creaks of the old leather seats. Every time a car drove by, I wondered if she'd called the cops already. If I'd see red and blue lights flashing in my rearview mirror. The next morning I went back in. I had to keep the act going. But the second I stepped through the door, she was there, waiting. She was calm now. Too calm. She handed me a plate of pancakes and kissed my cheek. Said she loved me. Like nothing had ever happened. I knew then she was testing me. Seeing if I'd play along. And I did. I smiled. I said I loved her too. My stomach twisted like I'd swallowed broken glass. But I knew I needed more time. I started visiting a lawyer during my lunch breaks. I told him everything. He took notes, asked for the recordings, the emails, the screenshots. He said what I feared most. If she gets to the police first, it's going to be messy. Really messy. But we can build a case. We just need to move fast. So I made a plan. I'd wait until the weekend she went to see her sister out of town. I'd pack up everything important. Documents, clothes, the dog. I'd leave and never look back. But life rarely goes the way you plan. Because on Thursday, she announced her sister was sick. She wasn't going anymore. She'd be staying home. Watching me. That night, she woke me up at 3 a.m., standing over me in the dark. Her hair fell across her face, eyes wild. I could barely breathe. She whispered, I know what you're doing. My heart nearly exploded in my chest. I sat up too fast. Tried to play dumb. Doing what? But she just shook her head slowly like she pitied me. I saw you emailing a lawyer, she said. I know you think you can leave. But you can't. And if you try, I'll make sure you regret it. I realized I was cornered. The lawyer's advice echoed in my head. If she finds out, don't wait. Leave immediately. So the next morning, after she left to pick up groceries, I ran. I grabbed my bag, the dog, my laptop, my phone. I didn't bother with the rest. I ran out the back door, threw everything into my car, and drove like a bat out of hell. Every red light felt like a trap. Every car behind me looked like hers. I kept checking the rear view, expecting her to appear, screaming down the street. But I made it to my brother's house in one piece. When I walked in, Mark looked at me like I just crawled out of a war zone. He hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. He asked if I was okay. I wanted to say yes, but all I could do was shake my head. That night she started calling. Over and over. Voicemails, texts, emails. She said she'd forgive me if I came home now, that we could talk it out. Then the tone changed. She threatened to come find me. Said I'd regret embarrassing her. Said everyone would know what a monster I was. I didn't respond. My brother took my phone and turned it off. We sat in silence, listening to the hum of the refrigerator. My dog curled up between us, shaking. I remember petting him, whispering that it would be okay. That we were safe now. But I knew it wasn't over. Not even close. I thought getting out would be the hardest part. But I was wrong. The real nightmare started the moment I left. The morning after I escaped, Mark and I went to the police station. I remember the stale coffee smell in the lobby. The way the receptionist raised an eyebrow when I explained why I was there. I told the officer everything, the threats, the recordings, the emails. He listened quietly, nodding. Then he said the words I'd been dreading. She hasn't actually done anything illegal yet. We can't arrest someone for saying they might do something. He suggested I file for a protective order. I filled out the paperwork with trembling hands. Listed every threat she'd made. Attached the screenshots and recordings. But he warned me, protective orders only work if the person follows them. And from what you've told me, your wife doesn't seem like someone who respects rules. That afternoon I got a call from my boss. He sounded confused. Asked if everything was okay at home. My stomach dropped. Apparently my ex had called him. Told him I'd been violent, that I'd disappeared, that she was worried for my mental health. She made it sound like I was a dangerous lunatic on the run. My boss said he didn't believe her, but that HR would probably want a meeting soon. I felt like the ground was falling out from under me. This was it. The start of the smear campaign she'd promised. Mark helped me set up a meeting with my lawyer that same day. We went over every piece of evidence again. He said the recordings and emails were good. Really good. But he couldn't guarantee it would stop her from trying to ruin my reputation. Or my career. That night she texted me again. A wall of messages. She switched between begging me to come home and threatening to destroy me. Said she'd already talked to mutual friends. That they all believed her version of the story. That soon no one would want to associate with me. I remember pacing Mark's kitchen, phone in hand, dog at my heels. My heart wouldn't stop pounding. I felt trapped, even though I wasn't in the same house anymore. Every ding of my phone made me jump. Every passing car outside made me wonder if she'd found me. Then around midnight she called. Mark told me not to answer. But I needed to hear what she'd say. I put it on speaker. Her voice was calm, almost sweet. I love you, she said. Please come home. We can fix this. You know I only get upset because I care so much. Then in the same breath, if you don't come back, I'll go to the police tomorrow. I'll show them the bruises. I'll tell them you raped me. I felt like I was going to throw up. I hung up. Sat on the floor, back against the fridge, trying to breathe. Mark called the lawyer at 1 a.m. He told us to document everything. Save the call logs, the voicemails, the texts. He said it was crucial to show a pattern of harassment and threats. Over the next few days things escalated. She started showing up at my job. Sitting in her car across the street. One of my coworkers texted me, I think your wife is parked outside. She's been there for hours. My boss asked me to take some time off until things calmed down. That was when I realized I was losing everything. My home. My sense of safety. Now my job. I started staying up all night, terrified she'd show up at Mark's. I'd sit by the window watching the street. Every set of headlights made my heart race. I kept my dog close, his warm body the only thing grounding me. One evening Mark's wife pulled me aside. She told me they were worried. That I looked like a ghost. That I needed to eat, to sleep. But I couldn't. How do you rest when someone's out there plotting your destruction? A few days later my lawyer called with an update. He'd managed to get an emergency court date for a restraining order hearing. He told me to bring every scrap of evidence I had. The day of the hearing, I felt like I was walking into an execution. I sat on the wooden bench outside the courtroom, clutching my folder of proof. My lawyer beside me. Then I saw her walk in. She was wearing a white dress. Hair perfectly done. Eyes red from fake tears. She looked like the picture of an innocent, heartbroken wife. When the judge asked her to speak, she launched into a sob story. She said I'd been violent, that I'd threatened her, that she feared for her life. Every word was a lie. But she told it so convincingly, even I started to doubt myself for a second. Then my lawyer handed over the emails, the recordings, the texts. The courtroom went quiet. The judge's eyes hardened as he read her words. I'll ruin your life. Don't you dare leave me. I'll tell everyone you hit me. I watched her face go pale as the judge turned to her. He granted the restraining order on the spot. Told her she was prohibited from contacting me in any way. Warned her that any violation could result in her arrest. When we left the courthouse, I felt lighter for the first time in weeks. Like I could finally breathe. But that feeling didn't last long. That evening, mutual friends started texting me. Asking what the hell was going on. She'd been posting on social media, spinning a story about how I'd attacked her, how I'd manipulated the court, how I'd abandoned her while she was mentally ill. I tried to respond, to share my side. But some friends didn't want to hear it. They'd already chosen who to believe. I watched my world shrink, one friend at a time. Mark told me to let it go. To focus on moving forward. But it hurt. More than I expected. These were people I'd known for years. People who'd stood at our wedding. Now they looked at me like I was a monster. Over the next week, she violated the restraining order twice. Once, by sending me a long email apologizing and begging for another chance. Another time, by showing up at my gym and trying to corner me in the parking lot. Both times I called the police. Both times they said they'd add it to her file. The second time they arrested her. Seeing her in handcuffs should have felt like justice. But all I felt was emptiness. Like a chapter of my life had ended, but the damage was already done. I moved my things out of our house with police supervision. The place looked different. Smaller. Colder. My clothes still hung in the closet. Our wedding photo was still on the mantel. But it felt like a crime scene. As I packed, I found a journal in her nightstand. She'd been keeping notes about ways to make me stay. Some pages were filled with plans to get pregnant on purpose. Others listed lies she could tell friends and family about me. I took photos of every page, hands trembling. That night, back at Mark's, I scrolled through those photos until my eyes burned. I couldn't believe how calculated she'd been. How she'd planned every step like a general preparing for war. And yet, a part of me still missed her. Or maybe I missed the person I thought she was. The woman I met 5 years ago who made me laugh, who made me feel alive. I didn't know if that version of her ever really existed. Or if it was just another part of the trap. The week after she was arrested felt like standing in the eye of a hurricane. Everything was eerily calm, but I knew the storm wasn't over. I moved into a small rental apartment across town. It smelled like stale paint and bleach, but it was mine. The dog curled up on the bare mattress with me that first night, breathing slow and deep, like he finally felt safe. I lay there staring at the ceiling, waiting for the next call, the next knock, the next attack. It didn't come. Not at first. The next morning, I went to work for the first time in weeks. Walking into the office felt like walking into a courtroom. Conversations hushed when I passed by. A few coworkers offered awkward smiles. Others wouldn't meet my eyes at all. My boss called me in, asked how I was doing, told me HR needed a statement about what had happened. I told them everything. Showed them the restraining order. The texts. The police report from her arrest. By the time I finished, my boss looked exhausted, like he'd just run a marathon. He promised they'd support me. But I could tell everyone was worried. No one wants drama spilling into the workplace. That night, she broke the silence. She posted on Facebook again. A long rant about how I'd kidnapped our dog, how I'd lied in court, how I'd manipulated the system because I was afraid of the truth. I got texts from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Some offered support. Others asked me why I'd hurt her. Each message felt like a punch to the gut. My lawyer said it was good news in a way. Her posts were more evidence of her violating the restraining order. But I was so tired of collecting proof. Tired of being stuck in a battle I never wanted. A week later, I woke up to find a rock had been thrown through my car window. No note. No cameras nearby. But I knew. The police took a report, but there wasn't much they could do without proof. My lawyer said it might not have been her. But we both knew it probably was. After that, I changed my phone number. Deleted all my social media. It felt like erasing myself, but I needed to disappear. I needed to take away her access to me. I started therapy. My brother's wife recommended a counselor who specialized in abusive relationships. I remember sitting on that scratchy couch, hands balled into fists, trying not to cry as I told the whole story. The therapist just nodded gently, like she'd heard it 1,000 times before. She asked me if I thought I deserved what had happened. That question cracked something open inside me. I realized I'd been carrying guilt. Like I'd failed by not seeing the signs sooner. Like it was my fault for staying as long as I did. But she helped me see it differently. That love doesn't make you blind. Abusers make you doubt your own eyes. Things got a little better after that. I started eating again. Sleeping through the night. I took long walks with the dog, letting him sniff every tree, every hydrant. The world felt new and raw. I'd never noticed how bright the sunrise could be. Or how quiet the streets were before dawn. But just when I thought it was finally over, she filed a civil suit. Claimed I'd stolen money from our joint account when I left. Claimed I'd abandoned her with unpaid bills. My lawyer warned me she was trying to drain me emotionally and financially. That it was a tactic. But I still had to fight it. The court dates dragged on for months. Each hearing was another wound. Another day spent facing her, hearing her twist the truth. But every time my lawyer presented the evidence we'd gathered. The recordings. The emails. The journal pages. One by one her lies fell apart. Then one day she didn't show up. Her lawyer asked for a continuance, but the judge denied it. He ruled in my favor. Dismissed every one of her claims. It was finally blessedly over. I walked out of the courthouse into the bright afternoon sun, and it felt like the first deep breath I'd taken in a year. I called Mark. He shouted into the phone like we'd won the lottery. I could hear his kids cheering in the background. I almost laughed. Almost. The months after that were quiet. She moved out of town back to her parents. I don't know what story she told them. I don't care. For the first time, I started building a life that was mine alone. I adopted a second dog, a little mutt with big ears. The two of them became my shadows. They made the apartment feel less empty. I started going to the gym again. Met new people who didn't know my past, who only knew the person I was trying to become. I kept going to therapy. I learned what healthy relationships looked like. How to set boundaries. How to listen to my gut when something felt wrong. But healing wasn't linear. Sometimes I'd wake up in a cold sweat, convinced she was standing over me in the dark. Sometimes a song on the radio would send me spiraling into old memories. But I kept going. One day at a time. A few weeks ago, I got an email from an old friend. Someone who'd believed her at first. He said he was sorry. Said he'd seen the truth eventually. That he wished he'd been there for me. I told him I forgave him even though a part of me still hurt. Because holding on to anger felt like giving her more power. I don't know if I'll ever fully heal. But I know I survived. I escaped. I built a new life when she swore I never would. And if you're reading this, if you're in a situation that feels like mine, know this, you can get out. It won't be easy. It will hurt. But you're stronger than you think. There are people who will help you. Who will believe you. And no matter what they say, you deserve to be free. Because what came after wasn't peace or happiness or instant relief. But it was mine. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next shocking story. You won't believe what's coming.